Hey, I'm Destiny. Welcome back to my channel, and on this channel we talk about topics such as business, side hustles, and entrepreneurship. So if those topics interest you, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing what exactly happened to the hair industry. Because if you can rewind back to before the pandemic, so maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, where everybody, literally everybody, your mama, your cousin, your sister, your best friend, everybody was dropping a hair business. And what happened to that? Now I rarely see people starting hair businesses. Like, what changed? So I'm gonna go over some of those reasons, some of those changes that I've noticed in the hair industry. So go ahead and stay tuned. The first thing I noticed is that people got, I wouldn't say they got tricked out of starting a hair business, but a lot of people said starting a hair business was oversaturated. And at a time, a couple years ago, yes, everybody and their mama did have a hair business. A lot of people had the same names, very close logos, because everybody had a hair business. People had the same vendors. There was a lot of hair business groups giving tips on Facebook, a lot of YouTube channels talking about hair. So people started getting scared when it came to starting a hair business. Like, you tell your friend, your family, like, hey, I'm starting a hair business. They be like, oh, it's already a whole bunch of hair businesses. Ain't nobody gonna support you. How you gonna stand out? Just basically tricking people out of their dreams to start a hair business. Now, like, I rarely see people starting hair businesses. Now, this could be either because they think it's oversaturated, they're not gonna make money, or it could be another reason on my list. So we're gonna go ahead and head over to number 2. The second thing that I'm gonna mention that I feel changed the hair industry forever was the rise of vendor lists. Now, we had people who've never sold hair before, boutique owners, people who ran successful businesses, people who just started businesses, all selling vendor lists. And most of the times, the vendors on these vendor lists were all the same vendors. So what happens when everyone has access to the same vendors? A lot of people starting hair businesses. And what happens when there's an increase in orders? Vendors started mass producing hair, causing the quality to drop down. So now that everyone had access to the same vendors, and most of the time when it came to vendor lists, people were looking for the blue band vendor. The blue band vendor, also known as KBL, K-Blue, they had excellent hair starting off. Like, the hair was top notch. When people started selling these vendor lists, quality went down. That's what we noticed. Automatically, quality went down. People started complaining to KBL about the prices. Instead of just having a blue band hair, now they have a lower tier hair. So people were ordering their lower tier hair, saying that it's KBL, saying it's the blue band vendor, when really they don't even have that same quality. So then that started giving the hair a bad rep. And then also what I noticed is that when it came to these vendor lists, is that a lot of the times people selling these vendor lists, like, they didn't even sell hair. Of course, people selling vendor lists for cheap. Typically, well, back in the day, your vendor used to be your top secret recipe. So that used to be your Krabby Patty recipe. And people were just giving out vendor information. One person would buy a vendor list, and then they'll be tricked on Facebook to help all the sisters out. Now they're posting it to a group of maybe 50,000 people. So now all 50,000 people have access to the same list with these same vendors. Now all of them can go to the vendors, when before maybe it was just a handful. What started happening with vendors, they started running out of stuff. They would run out of bundles. There was a lace shortage at one period of time. All types of issues going on, all from the sale of vendor lists. Now, I'm not going to say vendor lists is the primary reason for the decline in the hair industry, but this leads to number 3. Number 3 is the pandemic. So during the pandemic, since most vendors were getting their hair from China, as we know, what happened during that time is China closed down. When the workers didn't have access to the factories, that caused a spike in the hair prices. So before, you can get a bundle for $30. Oh, that price increased tremendously. It went from 30 to 40 to 50, all the way up to $60. So now what people used to pay $30 and maybe they was able to sell it for $100. So now that same bundle increased to $60 and they're still selling it for $100. Over time, it did cause the hair prices to increase. As far as for us, like Black Americans who were selling hair, our prices had to increase. And what we noticed during the time of the pandemic is that the vendors, they said that they raised the prices because their workers couldn't come to the factory. So that caused the shortage in lace. That caused them not to be able to have as many bundles on hand. So that is what they told us what was the reason for the increase. But once we noticed that once the pandemic was over, they never lowered the prices. So I know a lot of hair businesses who either went out of business because they couldn't keep up with the prices, and then also some of them increased their prices. Now, what I'm gonna say about them increasing their prices, let's say if they increase the price of a bundle, let's say they were reselling it for $100 and they had to increase it to $140, $160 for a bundle that they used to sell for $100 the year previous, all because their vendor started increasing their prices. The fourth thing that I'm gonna say about the hair industry is that vendors started becoming our competitors. These are your Unices, your Alley Pearls. Even now, vendors have their own pages to where customers can shop directly with them and cut us out. Instead of us, like how we used to always say, cut out the middleman, the Chinese started cutting us out. So what started happening is they started contacting customers directly. They started sending out their bundles to customers directly, sending out their bundles to influencers. They're sending out free wigs. Now they still can sell their hair for a cheap price because they don't have to make a large profit margin like we do in the state, and they don't typically have to worry about their branding too much. So they're sending out their hair to all the popular influencers. And typically, I don't know why this is, but I noticed that influencers will charge the Chinese less than they'll charge an American company. Like, I don't know, it's because the American company looks a little bit more successful and they can see the owner and how flashy their lifestyle is. So they figure they have more money than a whole team of Chinese who are selling the exact same hair. Once the Chinese started cutting us out, that made it very competitive. They're sending out wigs to all the popular influencers to where the customer can just go on the website and order an $100 to $250 wig. They started to become our competition. So they still wanted us to buy hair from them. They even wanted us to tag them in our pictures. It's like, no, we're not sending you any reviews for you to post on your Instagram and tag us. So that way, when we post our own content, they will literally come on our page, see who liked it, and then follow our customers, so then the customers can follow them back and be like, hey, this person gets hair from us. You can get hair from us too. No, we don't want that. Like, at the end of the day, this is a business and we have to make profit. Another thing, the last thing that I noticed is that Chinese companies started working with UGC creators. So that's user generated content creators. And typically with UGC content creators, they are very cheap. Chinese companies used to send hair to influencers. Like, sometimes that influencer might charge them a couple $100 all the way up to thousands of dollars. You get a UGC content creator, they will just want a free wig. So the Chinese companies start reaching out to people whose following start growing, especially on TikTok, and they started sending out a whole bunch of free product to them. And as a regular hair business owner, we can't compete with that. We cannot compete at all with just sending out a whole bunch of free products. The Chinese, yes, they can. They have teams who just sit on the internet all day to try and find these new content creators to send out their wigs to. It got to the point where I saw someone on TikTok with 500,000 subscribers make a video about how she got scammed out of $300 from a Chinese hair company. And the fact that she only charged them $300 was alarming to me. With 500,000 on any other platform, you can get paid thousands of dollars for that type of follow. The times with some of these influencers, like getting a free hair, like that's a lot. Depending on if you take your business serious or not, getting free hair can save you a lot of money. So they just start sending out a whole bunch of free hair to the new and up and coming UGC creators that don't know their worth yet. And they made a huge come up off that. Like, you started getting on TikTok and only seeing Chinese hair companies left and right. Like, I can't even count how many times I've seen Unice on TikTok TikTok being reviewed, them giving out free hair. So it just became a point where we just were no longer able to compete. Where we can compete at is when it comes to custom wigs. Now I see that's a lot of people's angle when it comes to custom wigs, stylists installing the hair. So if you're a stylist and you can sell the hair yourself, and then the tape-ins is another strong point that stylists can use to sell their products. Make sure your clients only use your products, because competition was getting steep out here for a second, and not amongst us as black people, but amongst us and the Chinese companies. That is where it became very different, because the Chinese companies, like back in the day, like they were really behind the scenes, like literally just selling hair as solely as a vendor. But now that there are competition, it makes it so much harder. We have to compete with their prices, their shipping times, like because some of them are very quick now. As a vendor, they want to move slow on us, but then when they're shipping it directly to the customer, now all of a sudden it's super fast and the customers can get it in 2 days. So yeah, so that's my spiel of what exactly happened to the hair industry. Do I think it's oversaturated now? No, I previously thought it was, because that's when everybody was starting it. But now that people are slowly trickling out of the business, starting to look into different business models, I do think it's room for new hair business owners to come up, especially if they make custom wigs, if they're hairstylists, they do tape-ins. There's still room. So yeah, so that's my spiel on that. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you found it extremely helpful. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop that in the comment section. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to follow me on all my social media channels. That's I Am Destiny Adams. That's my only page, by the way. So I Am Destiny Adams, no underscores, no numbers. And that's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, pretty much everything. I do also have a free Facebook group that you can advertise your products or see other products that other people who support my channel are advertising, so you can go ahead and support. And that page name is The Side Business Hustle. And yeah, and go ahead and stay tuned for the next video. I am gonna try and be more consistent throughout the year. So yeah, go ahead and stay tuned. Peace.